This video is for IXL, activity 8.F.21. It is titled Cube Roots of Positive Perfect Cubes, and its 3-character code is Romeo, Yankee, Golf. So the question asks, what is the cube root of 64? Well, before we go on, let's talk about what is a cube. A cube's a three-dimensional figure. I have a picture of a couple of them here. So it's a three-dimensional figure in which its length, width, and height are all equal to one another. So you can see here with this cube that its width, S, and its length, S, and its height, S, are all equal to one another. So this means if we want to know the volume of this cube, we would just take the length of each side and then just cube it. Or that is to say that we would multiply one side times the other, and get S times S times S. So it wants to know what is the cube root of 64. Well, in that case, we're talking about a cube that has 64 cubic units in it. So my second picture of a cube here that I have, you'll notice that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 units wide by 1, 2, 3, 4 units deep and 1, 2, 3, 4 units high. So if I took 4 times 4, I would get 16. Then if I multiplied 16 times 4, I would get 64. So in this cube that I have here on the right side, between these two cubes, there are 64 cubic units in this cube. So this means that in order to get to that 64, I took 4 times 4 times 4. So in that case, to find out the volume of this cube, we would do 4 times 4 times 4, and this would equal 64. And therefore, this means that the root, that is to say the length of one of these sides here, is 4. So the cube root of 64 is 4. Now if we used a radical symbol, we would have the symbol with a 3 here for the index, and then the radicand underneath would be 64. So if we took it out of this form of like a question and wrote it into a mathematical sentence looking type thing, we would see that the cube root of 64 is equal to 4 times 4 times 4. At least that's what the radicand is equal to. So therefore the cube root of 64 would be 4. What about the cube root of 1? Some number times itself 3 times equals 1. Well, hopefully you're thinking, okay, that's 1 times 1 times 1, and that would still give us 1. Therefore the cube root of 1 would equal 1. And if you think about that, that would just be one cube, right? It has a length of 1, has a width of 1, and it has a height of 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is all 1, right? 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1. So we end up with just 1 cubic unit. And that's what this radicand symboling is. How many cubic units would there be in that cube? On the next question, what is the cube root of 8? So some number times itself 3 times would equal 8. So we're looking for x to the third equals 8. So what is the value of x? In this case, it should be 2, right? 2 times 2 times 2. What does this equal? Well, 2 times 2 is 4. And multiply the 4 times that 2, and I would get 8. So 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. Therefore, the cubed root of 8 equals 2. What about the cubed root of 729? It's a pretty big number, right? A cube with 729 units in it. So I could start guessing. Well, I happen to know that 5 cubed equals, what is that, 125? So it's going to be much bigger than 5. And so I could start guessing. What about 10 cubed? Well, 10 cubed equals 1,000, which is greater than 729. So it's going to be somewhere between 5 and 10. Let's go ahead and guess another one, somewhere in between there. Let's try 7 cubed. Let's see what that works out to be. So 7 times 7 equals 49. And then 49 times 7, see how this works out. 7 times 7 is 63. Carry the 6, but I can stop there because, see, I have a 3 in the ones place, and here I have a 9 in the ones place. So 7's not going to work for me, so I don't want to try 7. So let's go ahead and, I guess I could have completed that and see what we got with 8. But let's go ahead and try 8 cubed. So 8 times 8 equals 64. And 64 times 8 Well, 8 times 4 is 32, carry the 3. Well, that's not going to work either. I have a 9 in that position. So let's go ahead and complete this so we can see what 8 cubed is. That might give us an idea of what number to check, what number to check next, correct? So let's see, 8 times 6 is 48, plus 3 more is 51. So that's going to be 512. Well, we need 729. So we're going to have to go a little bit bigger. Well, check this out. 8 was too small. 10 cubed is 1,000. That's too much. So I'll bet you that it's going to be, let's try 9 cubed. And I know it's going to be a whole number because in this case, the activity is on perfect cubes, and to be a perfect cube, its root has to be a whole number. So in that case, let's go ahead and look at that. 9 times 9 equals 81. Yep, I think this one's going to work out. 81 times 9. And 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 8 is 72. And sure enough, we get 729. So with that said, I know that 9 is the cubed root of 729. Now, there is another way I could have done this, and that would be to find a list of perfect cubes. And so I've done just that here. I've included a list of perfect cubes that we have here. The cubed root of 1 is 1. Cubed root of 8 is 2. Cubed root of 3 is 27. These are some of the easier ones. Cubed root of 64 is 4. Cubed root of 125 is 5. And then that's pretty much all of the ones that I have memorized. I've kind of got all of these first 5 perfect cubes memorized. It's whenever we get into some of these others. Now, the cubed root of 1,000, that's pretty easy. There's 3 zeros in it. So the cubed root of 1,000 is going to be 10. 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 10 is 1,000. We just kind of count the zeros that are there. These other ones are the ones that are a little bit trickier. The cubed root of 216, cubed root of 343, etc. And we can see what their cubed roots are here. Another way to do it would have been to use a calculator. So let's look at how we would use a calculator. I'm going to pull up my graphing calculator here. And so if I want to find cubed roots, well, in other activities that we talked about before, we've talked about to find a square root. We're going to use this key right here that says x squared, because above it is the radical symbol here for square roots. And to find the square root, like let's say we take the square root of 25. Well, we know that answer is 5, and hit enter, we get 5. But where in the world do we find cubed roots at? If we look across all of these labels that are above the numbers, we're not going to find cubed root anywhere. So in order to find it, it's going to be right here at this button that says Math. Pull up this button that says Math, and then under the Math section we see we have fractions, decimals, the cubed root. We could pick other roots here if we need the 4th root, 5th root, or whatever, we'd use that. But number 4 is the one we're looking for, cubed roots. So let's go ahead and select number 4, press 4, and now that brings up cube root. I just need to enter in my value. Let's go ahead and try this one here, 729. 729, and then hit enter, and I would see that my cubed root of 729 is 9. Again, to find the cube root, we're going to go to Math button. Number 4 is the one we want. We could just use the down arrow to number 4 and then hit enter. We could select it that way as well. And then let's go ahead and check out the cube root of, let's do this, 343. And I actually touched it, didn't mean to get rid of my calculator there. Let's bring that back. So let's go ahead and do the cubed root of, let's do 512. So we'll put a cubed root of 512, hit enter, and we see that the cubed root of 512 is 8. So let's go ahead and get rid of the calculator there. And so a couple ways we could do it. We did guess and check to initially find it. We could also consult a list of perfect cubes. We could find it that way, or we could use a calculator to do it. So what about the cubed root of 216? Well, if we go back to this table, we'll see cubed root of 216 right here is equal to 6. So I know that that answer is 6. Now we could check that out. 6 times 6 times 6. Does this equal 216? Let's see. 6 times 6 is 36. So we'll multiply that times 6. And 36 times 6. 6 times 6 is 36. Carry the 3. 6 times 3 is 18. Add 18 plus 3 is 21. So indeed we see that that answer is 216. So that would check out. And here we have what is the cube root of 1,000. This is the one I said it's kind of easy. We know that that's 10 because I have 1, 2, 3 zeros in it. So if I have 10 times 10 times 10, 10 times 10 is going to be 100. And bring down this other 10 here. And that's just going to be a 1 with now 3 zeros on it, right? So I end up with, indeed, 1,000 whenever I do 10 times 10 times 10. So the cubed root of 1,000 is, indeed, 10. So those are all of my examples for IXL 8.F.21, cube roots of positive perfect cubes. Good luck with your activity.